Hello everyone, this is POW coming at you with another update. In this update, we're going to be talking about a major winter storm for the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic and going into the Northeast. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Here's the latest watches and warnings map as of this morning, the Saturday afternoon, the 30th. And you can see, let's start off with the Northwest. We've got some heavy snow we're going to be dealing with in parts of Washington and Oregon. And then we'll have some heavier rain with flash flood watches for Northern California. And then we're still dealing with some heavy snow in the mountain regions and some very windy conditions out in the Texas Panhandle where they have 60-mile-per-hour gusts. And as I'm doing this video, we had a 51-mile-per-hour wind gust at DFW Airport. And then we have winter weather advisories for a good swath of the Dakotas to Minnesota, all the way to Iowa, getting into the Illinois, where we have winter storm warnings taking shape, as well as the Virginias getting into the Northeast. So we got a huge chunk of this winter storm that we're going to be going over the next several days. So let's kind of walk you through it. Here's the overall temperatures as of this afternoon. There's a couple things. So you got a lot of warm air down to the south. We actually just peaked at 75 degrees at DFW. But I want you to take a look at this little cold pocket here in the midsection of the country. We've got a lot of cold air pressing down in the upper levels. It's very cold aloft, and that is crucial to this setup that's actually going to be taking place over the next several days. So let me kind of walk you through. As this continues moving through, here's the surface map later on this afternoon, getting into this evening. We've got a widespread heavy rain event. In fact, there was just a tornado I just saw in the headlines in northeastern Oklahoma. This is a very dynamic system that's lifting off to the northeast. And we've got a lot of warm air to it. So you think that it's going to be just kind of an all rain event for up here. But that's going to make a quick transition. Like I mentioned, we've got a lot of cold air aloft on the backside. And as this lifts, we'll have a lot of warm air convection. And as the air rises, that'll cool the atmosphere and that'll make it turn over quick. And that'll just transport all that energy to all snow over the Ohio Valley. And you can really see this just quickly turns over. It really gets its act together with some heavier snow breaking out in Minnesota and Iowa, going into Illinois, getting into Wisconsin. It'll be getting into portions of Michigan by then. This is overnight tonight as this storm really starts to get its act together. And you can really see the freezing line here depicted of where you have the warm Gulf air to the southern regions, and then we'll have that transport to all snow on the north side. And where that demarcation line is, that's where that banding will take effect, and that'll traverse across from west to east and really kind of set the stage for our heavy snow event for the Ohio Valley. And as we getting through the day overnight on Saturday, and then especially Sunday morning, and that's kind of the transition zone. Here's the setup for the Ohio Valley. We got all snow in the upper regions, mainly rain and southern and good in portions of Kentucky and Tennessee. But then look at the line here. I mean, we have what they call a cold air damming event coming in. We've got a lot of cold air that we're going to run into from the northeast. A lot of cold air aloft as well. So that'll set the stage for some heavier snow to start breaking out in D.C. Yes, Washington, D.C. is going to be seeing some heavy snow. And unfortunately, there's also going to be an ice event that's going to be breaking out here too into North Carolina, getting into Virginia as we go into Sunday morning. And as we get deeper into Sunday morning, this low over the Ohio Valley will kind of start to fade. And then we'll have a low off here off the Virginia coast to really start to deepen. And as this deepens, it'll still bring in some colder air aloft on the backside. So we'll still be dealing with some heavier snows in Illinois, getting into Indiana, like Indianapolis areas, going into Ohio. Now we're hitting portions of Pennsylvania, and we'll really start to set the stage some heavier snows getting into portions of West Virginia by then, Baltimore, DC, like I mentioned, getting into Jersey, and so we'll have a kind of a rain snow mix in portions of, say, Delaware to start, but then on the backside we'll have all snow as this continues to lift. And as it continues to lift, this is by Monday morning, and this is really when it starts to deepen. That initial low fades, then the primary low sets up over the Northeast just off the coast, and it's got a lot of warm water to work with. So this is when I start to really believe some of your heaviest snows from this event will be Monday, especially into Monday night. So we'll start to see those heavier snows into Jersey, getting into, Connecticut, and portions of Boston area by then. And this will really start to elongate up the I-95 corridor and really set up a major event, I do feel, coming up for you guys. And let's kind of zoom in as we get into Monday night. This is a really dynamic setup, and it's a very convective setup. Look at the darker blues really start to take shape, especially over, say, Jersey. I do feel like this is going to be your heaviest banding, and say in the southeast corridor of Pennsylvania, get into Jersey, say Philly, all these places up the coast, Long Island. This is probably going to be your heaviest snow event in this area as it really starts to get its act together. So what's actually going to take place, we've got a lot of warm air, and this is an element I haven't heard anybody really mention yet, but these are your sea surface temperatures right along the coast. I mean, look at the Atlantic. But just right along the coast, along the Northeast, there's Jersey. Here's a pocket of very warm water, and that's going to be able to possibly intensify these storms as they really start to get its act together on Monday night. Let me show you the jet stream and how this is going to play out. So here's the jet on Monday night. You can really see it's really digging down, and it basically goes vertical on Monday night. And as it goes vertical, it'll lift and take advantage of that warm water along the coast. And as it takes advantage of that, it'll lift and go up in the upper levels, and we'll have that mixing. We got a lot of cold air aloft, so that'll set the stage for a very dynamic setup. And I do feel you could even have thunder snow breaking out in these areas as this convective system really starts to take shape. And if that's the point, it could potentially start to stall or definitely slow down. If that happens, you could easily pick up 2, 3, possibly up to 4-inch per hour snowfall rates in these areas right along the coast as this dynamic setup really starts to take shape and really amplifies on Monday evening with this setup. So as we continue moving across, you can see the really darker blues just highlighting along the coast over Jersey and southern PA. That's the sweet spot in this event as this lifts up the I-94 corridor. And a lot of these areas, this has a potential to definitely overperform in some areas, and in some areas, yes, will have the potential to underperform. So, and as this continues to lift up, we'll have a lot of snow still on the backside to deal with in the Ohio Valley, get into Virginia, and portions, say Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's easily in like the 6 to 10 inch swath, but as we get into central and southeastern PA, I think Philly's like in the 12 to 18 inch zone. New York City, you're in, say, the 10 to 12, if not 14 inch zone. So this is a system these areas have not seen in a while. And as we get into Boston too, I still feel like you could easily pick up a foot out of this deal as it continues lifting off into the Northeast. But we're also going to have a wind component too. And this is, again, Monday night. So this is the very dynamic setup where we could be looking at, 40, 50, upwards to 60 mile per hour wind gust along the coast over an extended period of time. So it's not out of the question where we could have blizzard, conditions along the coast over a period of time as this dynamic convective system really takes shape, intensifies, and kind of maxes out on a Monday evening as this continues to lift off. You can see the training set up along the coast. So And then that snow will start to get into the interior regions as well by then. So say a Scranton, Pennsylvania, I do feel like you're probably in the 6 to 9 inch zone from this event, and this will continue lifted off into the New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts area. Now we'll get into portions of Maine. So this is a long duration event. Some areas will last 48 hours, a full 2 days. It'll be snowing, at least a chance of snowing. A lot of areas will be 36 hours, but this is not a quick moving event. This is a long duration event as this continues moving across on this Tuesday afternoon all along the Northeast, still dumping some ample amount of snow. And this will try to continue to lift by Wednesday morning. By then, you can see a lot of the field to work with. And still, just a lot of snow for the northeast as it continues in the upper interior by then. And if we continue as we get into Wednesday afternoon into Wednesday night, that's when it really finally starts to die down. So I mean, considering it's going to start tonight in the Ohio Valley and start to end by Wednesday afternoon, this is a long duration event for that area. So if we zoom out, here's the latest NAM, and this kind of gives you a pretty good depiction on how this is going to play out with the latest mesoscale model. And I do feel like this has a pretty good guidance of a good swath of, say, Des Moines you're kind of on the edge from this event. But if you live east of there, you could start being in that 4 to 6 inch zone. And so here's a swath basically from Chicago, either, all along the Ohio Valley, you could be in that, 8 to 10 to 12 inch band. And these heavier snows, it'll only lift so far from into Wisconsin and into Michigan, because we'll have that ridge up north. So it's mainly going to be a southern event in Michigan, and then potentially a central to southern event in Wisconsin, as well as this will continue moving across. We do have little sporadic snows in Kentucky and Tennessee, but these are just probably 1, 2, possibly 3 inch amounts. But as we get into Virginia, we'll start including those heavier snows of, say, 3 to 5 inches. Going into the DC, you're more like in the 6 to 10, if not a little higher in DC, maybe 8 to 11 inch snow. And then places like Pittsburgh, like I mentioned, 6 to 10 easily. But as you get, central to eastern PA, I do feel like you could easily pick up a foot out of this deal, and if not 18 inches in spots. And there are some spots could easily pick up 20 inches plus with that convective banding Monday night, and setting up over Jersey, Philly, New York City, Rhode Island, Long Island. All you are in the game from this event. And as this continues to lift north, mainly heavier amounts on the southern side of Maine as this continues to lift north. And then here's the latest European model, kind of sets the bullseye over this same area that I kind of been highlighting. That's where I do feel you're going to have the heaviest amounts. But you're also going to get some really heavy amounts in the Northwest as well. So on the initial setup with that very atmospheric river of just heavy precipitation coming in, you'll have some heavier snows filtering into Washington, getting into parts of Oregon, and especially getting into upper Idaho as well from this event over the next several days. But there'll also be an ice component from this event, unfortunately. So you have a little glaze in Iowa, get into Illinois on the initial setup, but it'll really amplify where you have that cold air damming and that warm air coming in on the south side. And I do feel you could have a significant ice storm with some power outages and definitely down power lines as well, especially some of those higher winds start mixing into the pattern into Virginia, going into the Carolinas, into Virginia and parts of West Virginia there. So that is definitely a component. Even in DC could pick up a glaze of ice as well on top of the snow they're going to get. And here's the liquid precipitation. Here's the atmospheric river of moisture we talked about along the coast. So some very heavy rain going into the Northwest from Washington to Oregon, getting into upstate California, and then traversing to predominantly all snow in the interior regions with some heavier snow breaking out. And you can see it's not much going on in the midsection of country. It's just pretty much high and dry, and everything's along the coast into the Ohio Valley and the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. And on the southern side, where they'll have that warm air to work with, you'll have 1 to 2, possibly isolated 3-inch amounts over the next several days through Wednesday. So hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.